Hey guys, welcome back to the KJ Methods YouTube channel. All right, we've already done contracts 5 parts, agency 5 parts. We are now on the practice of real estate test number 1. I like this section because it is still a highly tested section. However, it is not nearly as difficult as contracts or agency. It has much less information, yet you can pick up a lot of test questions. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. An African American family requests to see properties in only $500,000 neighborhoods, but you refuse to show them those neighborhoods because they are only pre-approved for $350,000. Have you committed a fair housing violation? All right, African American family, you only want to show them $350,000 houses. They want to see $500,000 houses. Yes, this is an example of steering and it is not permitted under fair housing. B, yes, it's an example of blockbusting, not permitted under fair housing. C, no, this is totally permissible behavior on the part of the agent and no violation has occurred. D, yes, because the agent is obligated to show them properties in any neighborhood they wish. Guys, this one is real simple. They try to get you, right? They say African American family, you're like ding, 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 fair housing. However, they are only qualified for $350,000. You are not obligated to show them anything more than $350,000 or with their down payment. The point here is do not automatically just jump on fair housing when the reason for you not showing it is not a fair housing reason. Keep that in mind. So C, totally permissible behavior. Number 2, a husband and wife have owned a property for 6 years and they have occupied it for the last 4 years. They bought the property for $320,000 and sold it for $650,000. On what amount would they pay in capital gains tax? A, 0. B, $510,000. C, $20,000. D, $290,000. This is testing you on do you know the rule. It's called the Taxpayer Reinvestment Act of like 1997. Okay, you don't need to know all of that. You just need to know the rule. And the rule is this. If you are a married couple and you have owned the house and lived in the house for at least 2 of the last 5 years. So this says 6 years. They've lived in and owned it for 2 of the last 5 years. So yes, they have that and they're married. You get a freebie of $500,000 when you sell this property. We say it's exempt, but it's free, okay? And so you're only going to pay taxes on profit of over $500,000. So with that said, let's look at this. They paid $320, they sold it for $650. How much profit did they make? $330. $330,000. Is that 500 yet? It is not 500 yet. Okay, and so that means that here they're going to pay capital gains on $0. They did not get to the 500,000 yet. Guys, if they had made 520,000, then they would pay capital gains on only 20,000. They would still get that 500,000 for free. Okay, number 3. Holly is building a new 5,600 square foot home, which will be completed in 2 weeks. It will have a total of 8 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, but only the 2 bedrooms on the main floor will be handicap accessible. There are 10 stairs to get to the main house and no ramp. So Henry is this UPS driver and he makes deliveries to the home. Henry sues Holly prior to completion of construction, attempting to force her to install a ramp so that he could use it to get to the house, right? What is the probable result? A, Holly will have to install a ramp so that Henry can access the property. B, Holly will not have to install a ramp since her home is not open to the public. C, Holly will have to install a ramp since the property is being built after 1979. And D, Holly will not have to install a ramp due to latches. Okay, guys. all we're saying here is that this UPS driver wants to be able to get to the house. There's no ramp, and he's going to sue her. Can he sue her? Sure, you could sue anybody for anything. However, Holly does not have to install a ramp because this house is not open to the public, so she does not have that handicap accessibility requirement that we talk about under like the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act. It doesn't impact her at all. All right, so she's not going to have to install a ramp here. 4, a newly constructed apartment building for people 55 and over has opened. Prior to completion and taking applications, the developer made it clear that no children under the age of 18 would be allowed to reside there. Is this permissible? A, yes, as long as 80% of the occupants are 55 and older. B, no, the exemption only applies to housing of persons 62 and older. C, no discrimination against children is ever allowed, right? So no, discrimination against children is never allowed. And D, yes, because there was notice before taking applications. Well, I hope you know that it's not going to be D, all right? Notice, if you're violating fair housing, you're violating fair housing. And then it says C, no, discrimination against children is never allowed. Please understand, under fair housing, because a lot of students pick that, right? Under fair housing, everybody's not protected in every situation. We do have exemptions to the fair housing law. Do we want you to discriminate against children? No, we do not, but we do have exemptions. And here, the answer would be A. Yes, as long as 80% of the occupants are 55 and older. If you remember from class, you have two different scenarios. 55 and over, it has to be 80% of the occupants. And 62 and over, it's just a 62 and over community. If it's a 62 and over community, we don't have that 80% rule. But the 80% HUD rule that we do have for communities, people 55 and over. So yes, we can discriminate in this situation. 5, Sally is the listing agent on a home. Mary, an agent, brings a prospective purchaser, John, who Mary is representing. John happens to notice that there are several African American children playing in the playground near the home. John asks Mary if she could tell him what the demographics are in the neighborhood. Mary is uncomfortable at this line of questioning, but she understands her role as a fiduciary to her principal. So Mary's best reply would be, essentially African American kids, she is representing this buyer and he wants to know. A, the local school district would probably have that information. B, that she can find the information out and provide it. C, it doesn't matter because those children are from another neighborhood, so don't worry about it. And D, any discussion of neighborhood demographics is against the law. So here her best reply would be, just direct the person to where they can go and get that information. You are not going to get the information for them. And the reason why D is incorrect is that you don't want to be off-putting to your buyer. You want to provide information, but you want to do it so that you don't violate the law. All right, so your buyer is asking you, you say, listen, you can probably go here and find that information. You don't want to say, oh, we just don't talk about that. All right, but it is against the law for you to then talk about fair housing in this situation and give the demographic. Number 6, an agent has a new listing. In her ad to direct people to the home, she states that people should make a left on Midway Street. That's the corner where Target sits on the left and Watkins Church sits on the right. Has the agent committed any fair housing violation? A, yes, because the agent did not have to mention the church at all. B, no, because the agent also included Target in her ad. C, yes, any mention of the church is a violation. And D, no, because the agent is only referring to the church for directional clarity, not preference. So what do you think? As we know, religion is a protected class in fair housing. And so the answer here, though, is D. You can mention a church in an ad, but you're not mentioning it because you're saying that you have a preference for that situation. This church may be a landmark, and she's mentioning it for direction only. In that case, it is totally fine for her to do. So the answer again is D. 7. A broker is holding funds for his seller in a trust account during this period of time. A judgment is entered against the broker and the creditor is attempting to collect. The broker owes $37,000 and has $30,000 of it in his operating account. After seizing that account, that operating account, the creditor goes after the trust account to get the balance of the funds. Will the creditor be able to attach that account? A, yes, but only for that $7,000 that is owed. B, no, trust accounts cannot be attached unless it was for the client's funds. C, no, trust accounts can never be attached. And D, yes, but only with notice to all the parties involved. Well, this one is pretty simple. We do not care what the broker does with their operating account, ever. So if you ever get any questions relating to that, what is the broker doing with? The Real Estate Commission does not care what you do with your operating account. But those trust funds are protected funds. We do care about those. And those funds can never be attached because it has too many different funds in there from too many different people, transactions, so they just cannot be attached. 8. Calls that are impacted by the federal do not call registry can be made between A, 9 a.m. and 8 p.m., B, 8 a.m. and 9 p.m., C, 8 a.m. and 9:30 p.m., D, 8:30 a.m. and 9:30 p.m. Guys, this is just one of your low-hanging fruit. KJ calls it low-hanging fruit. There's these questions that you just got to get right. You answer it in 5 seconds and you move that time to another more difficult question. So the answer here is B, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Just remember it and that's it. Number 9, the federal do not call registry. A, applies to realtors only. B, applies to anyone making unsolicited calls to others. C, applies to most industries or many industries. And D, applies to all calls made between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. Well, again, it doesn't just apply to realtors. Realtors are considered telemarketers, and that's the reason why it applies to realtors. All right, and so the correct answer here is C. It applies to many industries. It doesn't apply to anyone making unsolicited calls, and it doesn't apply to all calls from 8 to 9. Now, if you've been watching KJ Method, I want you to be careful of those words. Anyone, all right? Those are too definitive. That means everybody. And so we're not going to have that as the best answer. It doesn't give you any leeway to get out of the question. Number 10, the county is trying to figure out the ad valorem tax rate to be paid by all property owners in the county. Mr. Brown is unhappy with the assessment attributed to his home. So he should appeal to A, the Board of Equalization, B, the Board of Arbitration, C, the Tax Assessor's Office, or D, the County Tax Commissioner. This is just another one that you need to know. KJ's low-hanging fruit, you answer the question and you move on. And guys, 30 to 40% of the test is quick, fast vocabulary questions like this. The answer is B, the Board of Arbitration. Okay, that is it for part 1 of our practice of real estate. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell all your friends about the KJ method. We are really interested in making certain you learn the material, not just regurgitate it. I will see you for part 2.